during those times of injury and coming back from Bell's palsy, like what did you do along with like playing the trombone that helped you to stay fulfilled musically, but then also, just kind of staying ahead of the curve, right? Of that
Yeah, well,
recovery mental game.
because remember, music is not just blowing the horn. I mean, there are other things. There's this, right? I could sit down at the
Yeah.
piano. I've written some music. I wrote all the horn charts for the Steely Dan band that I'm in. So that
Oh,
was that
cool.
was a nice little challenge because I wasn't used to writing charts. I'm not an arranger per se, but getting used to the transpositions and everything, having to condense sometimes a very lush horn part, which might have 8 different horns, to 3 guys. What are the most important notes? So that kept me occupied with thinking of things that are very musical without having to focus on, oh God, my chops. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
there were bands that actually kept me going in the '90s when I was actually otherwise had considered just was like stopping playing, just not playing anymore. There was a big band that a friend of mine, Justin Flynn, put together. He was an Eastman grad student at the time, and it was sort of a New York, like a Thad and Mellon New York style band. We used to play it on Monday nights, I think, at a bar restaurant place right near the Eastman School, and I played lead in that. And because of the fact that I was only playing lead and a couple solos, I could play hard and not let it show how crappy my trumpet playing was. I could still pound it out. And the caliber of musicians in that band, like Charles Ruggiero was on drums. It was just Dave Gibson was on lead trombone. It was pretty spectacular array of talent in that band, and that really, I think I might have told Justin at some point that probably kept me from quitting trumpet altogether because it kept me going. So I was able to get away with it in that particular band, even though I was struggling every time I went to try to practice, and it sounded like crap, because I wasn't practicing the way I played in that band. Um, so finding an outlet for your ability and your talent that allows you to focus on the music and not your chops. Because I know my philosophy of playing lead has always been I want to play it as if I wrote it. I don't want anyone to think I'm reading it.
Oh,
It's just
that's that's
this
cool.
is what I just came up with now, and I've always been a more musical player than maybe an accurate player. You know what I mean? I was even in high school, I could play it and I could phrase the way the pros did, even though I couldn't play the horn as well. I know
Hmm.
there are a couple very prominent lead trumpet players in history that were known for missing a lot of notes, but they sounded so good when they played because of their sound and their phrasing that everyone just
Hmm.
loved them. That they would put up with a few cracked notes or missed notes or a few clams here and there because of the way they played. And I've always hoped that the people around me felt the same way. If I wasn't going to be as accurate as the Eastman grad student sitting next to me, at least they'll hopefully like the way I phrase and the way I make the music hopefully come to life, which is what I'm trying to do, trying to do justice to the music. And when you're doing that, you're thinking about the music. You're not thinking about this because when you think about this, it's paralysis by analysis. You're not gonna play well,
Hmm.
or I'm not anyway. And I remember hearing an interview with my favorite musician, Pat Metheny, the guitar player. He said that when he's playing his best, he's actually listening to himself play. It's almost like he's not like creating the music; he's reacting to what he just did, which is a hard thing to explain. But when he said it, I
Interesting.
I I got it, and this goes back to high school with me. Is that when I was playing really well, even in concert band, I was kind of listening to how it sounded with the band. I wasn't making it in the moment, if that makes any sense. And I was kind of
I
enjoying
think
it.
so. Yeah,
You know what I
kind of
mean?
like
And
almost an out of body experience.
yeah, yeah, I was just kind of letting it happen instead of making it happen. Maybe that's another way to put it, to let it happen. And if you're playing in a band with good music, that's much easier to do with good musicians. It's much easier to do if you're playing. If you take a gig only because of the money, and maybe it's you're not digging it. That's when I never felt fulfilled. You know what I mean? And that's when I start worrying about my chops because it's like there was nothing else to worry about. I'm not having a good time with this music or these guys, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And luckily, I've gotten to a point
Sure.
where I don't have to play in crappy bands anymore. Every band I play in has good people and good musicians, and good friends at the same time, playing good music. So very fortunate there too.
Right.